Okay, friends, today's problem, March 23rd, 2020, is about a kid named Brian. So we're going to carefully read the story problem and then chunk the important info or underline the important information. And let's get going. Brian is saving up to buy a new bicycle. The one he wants costs $150. His mother gave him $10, but he will have to earn the rest by mowing lawns for $20 each. How many lawns will he have to mow before he can buy the bicycle? Chunk. Okay, so before we do anything, we're going to do an answer sentence or an answer statement. So if the question is how many lawns will he have to mow before he can buy the bicycle, we're going to say Brian has to mow some number of lawns before he can buy the bicycle. Okay, so now we have our answer statement done. So this is where you just stop and think, okay, what's going on here? There's a kid named Brian, all right, he wants to buy a bike, and the bike that he wants costs $150. So his mother gives him 10, and then he's going to earn the rest by mowing lawns. Okay, so first and foremost, there are more than two numbers, so we know this is a two-part problem. Okay? Now let's do what makes the most sense. We know that the total of what he needs to save is $150, right? And then we know his mom gives him $10. So let's just take that away from the total he needs to earn. And if you remember, N just stands for mystery number. It could be a question mark, it could be a box, whatever. So he needs $150. His mom gives him a 10. Let's see how much he has left to save. So when we do 150 minus 10, we have $140 that Brian needs to earn. So he needs to earn this amount. Okay, so now we know how much he has to earn. And we also know from up here that every time he mows a lawn, he gets $20. Okay, so basically what we're really trying to figure out is if he's saving up the money he needs, if he wants to save up $140, because that's what we figured out down here, how many lawns will he have to mow if for every lawn he mows, he gets $20? So I just want to remind you of a couple of things. So I have a title here for my bar model. This is the money he needs. I did my big bar, which is how much he has to save, and that's $140. And remember, we could also have shown the $140 as like one of these things. Either way is fine. But basically what we don't know is, we don't know the number of groups. How many groups of $20, meaning how many lawns does he have to mow in order to earn $140? Okay, so you could set up your equation a few different ways. If you're following the number of groups times number per group, that would be N lawns times $20 a lawn equals 140. And then anytime you have a missing factor, you always divide. So it would be 140 divided by 20 equals N. However, if you, I'm going to draw like a little dotted line here because you might have recognized right away that, hey, this is 140 divided by 20. And that would have been fine if you recognize that right away. It depends on the way you were taught or maybe the way you see it. I know in my class, usually we do it this way, so either of these would have been fine. And so now basically you have to figure out how many times does 20 go into 140. Okay, so you also could have done this a few ways. I'm going to show you two different ways. I hope it doesn't make it more confusing, but I know two ways that I'm thinking of immediately that my students might have solved this. Some people might have immediately just jumped to, I'm going to skip count by 20s until I get to 140. And that's a totally valid way to do it. So you could do 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140. How many lawns is this? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so you have your answer. Brian has to mow 7 lawns. Now I just want to point out that another way you might have seen this, and I'm just going to rewrite it so it's not confusing. Another way you could have seen this 140 divided by 20, so you might have seen it like this. I don't know 140 divided by 20, but I do know 14 divided by 2. And if I know that 14 divided by 2 equals 7, then I know 140 divided by 20 equals 7. So you might have seen it that way, and that's using really good number sense. But regardless, the way that you should have done it was to subtract the amount his mom gave him, and then you're left with the 140. And if you know he gets $20 per lawn, you should have figured out that he has to mow 7 lawns. All right, talk to you this time tomorrow. Peace out.